Okay, so in chapter 1, we often talk about density. So in this example problem, which reads, a 32.65 gram sample is placed in a flask. Toluene, in which the solid is insoluble, is added to the flask, so that the total volume of the solid and the liquid is 50.00 milliliters. The weight of the samples together is 58.58 grams. The density of toluene is 0.864 grams per mil. What is the density of the unknown solid sample? So, if density is equal to mass over volume, we need to know for our unknown, we already know the mass. We need to know both the mass and the volume. So how are we going to figure that out? First, we want to figure out the mass of toluene. Which is 58.58 grams minus 32.65 grams. So if we plug that into our calculator, we get 25.93 grams. Okay, so if we know the volume, or we're going to determine the volume of toluene, that way we can determine the volume of our sample since we already know the mass. So the volume of toluene, we can now use the density to determine the volume since we know the mass and we have the density. So if we have 25.93 grams, we are going to use our density, which is 0.864 grams in 1 milliliter. When we multiply or divide these two numbers, we can get the volume, which is 30.01 milliliters. Okay, if we know the volume of toluene and we know that the total volume is 50 mils, we can now determine the volume of the unknown. It's the 50 mils that we have total minus the 30.01 milliliters of toluene, which gives us 19.99 milliliters. Okay, so now we have the mass and the volume, and so we can determine the density. So the density of the unknown is equal to the mass divided by the volume, which in this case is the mass directly out of the problem, which is 32.65 grams, divided by the 19.99 milliliters, and we get a density of 1.6333 grams per mil. Now, the last part of the question that we need to assess is this the correct number of significant figures? To do that, we will go back to our problem and find the value with the least number of significant figures. So we have 4 sig figs here. As a reminder, a 0 followed by any other, or a decimal place followed by zeros is also, all of these are significant, so there are 4. We have 4 sig figs for this weight. However, the density here only has 3, and so our final answer needs to have 3 significant figures. So if we do our significant figures calculation, we know that it is 1.63 grams per mil is the density of our unknown solid. There you go.